Aren't you tired of boring and predictable podcasts? Remember the movie Groundhog Day? Ugh. The only thing predictable about this show is that we're guzzling booze. Count on it. This is the Appleboys podcast. Appleboys.us. If it's NFTs, music festivals, sporting events, strip clubs, current events, or masturbation techniques. Did I read that right? There's more than one? Fueled by, but not sponsored by, Miller Lite. This is the Appleboys podcast. Now your hosts, Josh, Corey, Rob, and Jimmy. Rob has issues. Just saying, bro.
Hey, how you doing, little mama? Let me whisper in your ear. Hey, everybody, it's Josh from the Appleboys podcast. This is our mental health episode, ASMR edition. I'm here with my good buddy, Corey. Hey, everybody, it's Corey. How are ya? Also got Rob here. What's up, Rob? Hey, I just want everyone to know that this is a safe space and you can be whoever you want to be. I just want to affirm that you matter and you need to be the best version of yourself on a daily basis. I've also got Jimmy. What's up, Jimmy?
Welcome to our safe space. My name is James.
That's about enough of that. What do you think?
Fucking finally. My God.
People who listen to ASMR podcasts,
They're
like,
fucking weird, right?
honestly, if you're still listening, you're a little bit weird. Like, how did you make it through that intro?
I fucking didn't.
I made it.
You don't listen to the podcast anyway, Corey?
That's not true. I just listened to it in a delayed manner.
I would do the entire podcast like that if I could.
Yeah, you would.
Maybe
I don't listen to ASMR. I just like doing the voice because it's fun and stupid.
I can understand that.
Stop tickling me, Corey.
That's ASMR, man.
Don't
I just
like
do fucking dumb shit to the microphone.
Don't like that.
We're going to have a Miller Lite mukbang.
It didn't come up, sorry.
That's every episode. Never
I
mind.
don't know what that is.
You don't know what a mukbang is?
No, what's that?
It's where people do ASMR, but they're just eating food
I hate
on
that.
video. It's
I
so
hate
bad.
I hate that a lot.
Yeah, food eating noises are like actually the worst thing to me. It's the only thing that like really just sets me off immediately. Like, shut the fuck up.
The most popular mukbang YouTuber started at like 130 pounds, and he's been doing it for 5 years, and he's now like over 600 pounds.
Big boy.
What?
Yeah.
My
No,
God.
no joke.
That doesn't seem real.
Man, I weigh almost 400 pounds, and I can tell you my life is rough. And I could not even imagine being another half of myself.
Yeah.
Ugh.
There's a compilation on YouTube where people they take like screenshots of him in similar positions, like multiple times.
Is he you remember the YouTube guy? I don't know what he is, but just a big old bowl of gravy. Like he just
It very well could
drinks
be
the
that.
gravy.
Oh no, is that Badlands Chugs?
No, it's not Badlands Chugs.
Okay.
I know who that is. No, this is just he also has a video where he talks about only doing dumbbell curls because he wants to have like super big arms because that's what chicks like.
Oh.
And
I don't
he's
think I've
like,
seen
one
this.
day I'm going to work up to where I can do that one over there. It's like the 120-pound dumbbell. And like he just like lays on his bed and is just like trying to do these curls with like these really big and he's the same guy who does the bowl of gravy.
You need to show us this.
I don't know. Yeah.
Not seen that.
He was
never
on, he
seen
was
such a
he was
thing.
featured frequently on Tosh.0 back in the day. So yeah.
I remember Tosh Point.
Oh man.
It's good times.
I loved me some Tosh.0. I really did.
Me too.
Rob, you were talking about the sound of people eating food is like one of the things that instantly triggers your gag reflex or makes you feel sick or whatever.
It just makes me angry. It's not even gross to me. It's just like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Well, I saw a video the other day on TikTok, which is the app all the kids are using these days.
All the Zoomers.
Yep.
I've heard that the Chinese are watching everything you do.
They are.
Yeah.
But it's got a real good algo rhythm. Anyway,
That's how they know what your butthole looks like.
it's
true.
this husband and wife, and the wife apparently has this legitimate gag reflex that whenever you make the sound, she can't help but do it. So he will take a video and be like, she'll be on her way to work, like dressed. I think she's like a lawyer or something. She dresses in like a business suit, a lady suit. Is that a thing?
Yeah.
I think that's called a pantsuit.
Pantsuit.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, she'll be like on the way out the door, and he'll catch her, and he'll be like, "Hey, you're not gonna throw up on your clothes, are you?" She's like, "Don't do it," and he's like, "Ugh," and she's like, "I'm not gonna." It's really, really funny.
I don't like
Is that actually a TikTok channel? Because I sent you that video from the Facebooks.
No, I sent that to you.
No, I did not.
Yes,
No, you did not. I definitely sent it to you.
you sent it to me.
Yes.
Yes, and then I found the TikTok channel, and I watched a lot of it.
Like
Which apparently my fiance said that she had shown me that video at one point, and I did not have much of a reaction to it. I was like, I don't remember that at all because this shit's fucking hilarious.
I laughed hysterically. I think I messaged you back and took full credit for finding it apparently in my mind. But I listened to it a lot.
Like
That's
4
good.
years ago, I used to work at Starbucks, and we all would wear like headsets so we could like work the drive-through if we needed to. And occasionally my manager would go on the headset and make the throw up noise.
Like to the drive-through people?
No,
Oh, okay.
just to all of us in there. And
Got
a
it.
few
Internal
people had
comms.
some issues with it. It was really funny.
Okay, nice.
That's awesome. Well,
It was always when you least expect
Can
it.
I get a white chocolate macchiato?
Pretty much. Pretty much.
all right. Well, at the beginning of the episode, I mentioned that this is our mental health ASMR edition, but it's not going to be ASMR outside of what it already has been. But one of the benefits of being a patron, patreon.com/Appleboys, or you can subscribe on our website at appleboys.us, is that you get the ability to request topics. So if there's anything that you'd like for us to talk about, you can request that. A while back, one of our patrons, Nate, asked us to play FMK. We did that. And Jimmy's mom...
I'm sorry I missed that episode, by the way.
Yeah,
The FMK episode. I
It
had
was
some
fun.
good ones.
It was a lot of fun.
it was fun. Maybe we can do like a little mini throwback a little later. We got another
All right.
couple of ideas.
We can do like FMK, MGK, MLK, JFK.
Edition.
Sure.
Yeah, let's do that.
I mean,
later.
the kill answer is obvious there, right?
Stop.
Is it MGK?
Stop.
Yeah, we'll save that for later.
Back and to the left.
Anyway,
Jesus, man.
Jimmy's mom is our only VIP level patron right now, so she gets priority topic requests, and she can basically request that we talk about whatever she wants, and we got to talk about it. So this is a podcast in which we normally goof off and have a good time, but it's also a podcast where it is meant to reflect our actual conversations at the bar, right? Art imitates life sometimes, and sometimes we do talk about some heavy shit. And mental health, I think, is one of those topics that over the last few years, people have started to become a little bit more comfortable talking about, but has been taboo through most of my life. It's just something that people don't really talk about. My mom, for example, was diagnosed as having a depression disorder and medicated for it throughout most of my childhood. And I didn't know that until into my 30s.
Oh, wow.
So I had no idea because people just don't talk about mental health.
Yeah.
Right. It was just never something that was brought up.
Yeah, sure.
So we're going to talk about it tonight. That's what our episode's going to be about. Any of you guys want to get us kicked off?
I think it's important to note before we get into this that any opinions that are expressed throughout this episode are our own opinions, and
Also, it's satire.
sure, that's part of it.
Yeah, whatever. That's fine too, I guess.
But also, like,
No, not this one. This one's not satire.
Yeah, more or less.
This is real shit.
even if this is a heavier episode with heavier elements and aspects to it, we're probably still going to be man-children. So just keep that in mind. And we don't mean for any of this to be offensive, but it probably will offend some of you.
That's probably true. Like I think one of our group's defense mechanisms is humor.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
one of the ways that we just respond when we don't know how else to respond. And I anticipate at some point tonight somebody's going to say something off color or out of context that might sound bad. So don't be offended or do whatever.
We don't give a shit, you fucking snowflakes.
Yeah, let us know in the fucking comments. You won't do it.
Didn't know we had Tommy Loren on the fucking podcast. God.
Cyberbullying is real, Rob.
The best thing about people with anxiety is they will never, ever speak up for themselves, so we don't give a fuck about you.
Jesus.
It's weird timing that we're doing this episode this weekend.
Why is that, Jimmy?
I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. No, it was Tuesday of last week. I scheduled a counseling appointment.
Good for you.
Yeah. Because I was talking to our good friend Will,
Yeah.
and he was like, yeah, I've been going to counseling like every day for like this many years. I think it was like 3 or 4 years.
Every day?
Sorry.
Every day?
It was, I think it's like once a week. Sorry.
Okay. That's,
sorry.
that's
sorry.
a far
That's
stretch
fine.
from every day. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know, man. Will calls me a lot.
It was either once a week or every 2 weeks.
Shout out, Will. I love you, buddy.
Will's great. But he was like, yeah, like it just helps me keep like on track and affirms my beliefs, and I get called out on my bullshit. I'm like, yeah, that sounds like something that'd be useful for me.
And then he buys more Bitcoin and he makes more money.
Exactly. I've been to counseling before, but just kind of got out of it. It's been a while. Want to try that shit out again.
So obviously you're going to counseling, but what do you feel like is your biggest struggle?
Currently there's some definitely some relationship issues going on. It's no secret between Rob. I talked to Rob about it quite a bit, but yeah, just trying to sort that out. Trying to sort out some leftover stuff from childhood, you know, and just daily anxiety in general. Yeah, like work kind of sucks right now, so it's just kind of a big shitstorm. So I feel like I could use a little bit of help.
It's a big shitstorm and you don't have a plunger.
It's true. No plunger.
Thank you, Corey.
Well,
You're welcome.
Hold on, my plunger is weed.
Okay, fair enough.
But, the thing about weed is that it's not really a true plunger. You basically are just covering up your toilet and then just pissing all over it instead of actually fixing the problem with a true plunger.
Can you elaborate on that?
No.
As you hold the bottle of Rumplemans,
Yeah.
This is going to be a really tough episode for
you
me.
are drinking right from the bottle of Rumplemints once again. My goodness.
oh boy.
I've never,
It's going to be fun.
I don't think I've ever done that with any liquor ever. Just drink from the bottle straight up.
It's good.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Rumplemints is delicious.
So James,
Yes.
I don't feel like I'm going to let you off the hook quite so easily because you've said very little.
Okay.
So I have a few questions. What is the desired outcome from meeting with a counselor?
Just want to kind of like I was saying, like why Will goes to counseling. Like before, it's helped me just like confirm my actions or call me out on my shit. Just want someone to just generally to talk to that's not like close to me or doesn't know me. So it's like an outside perspective on how I'm feeling, what I'm doing, that kind of thing.
Yeah, like a second set of eyes kind of sort
Yeah,
of.
I'm not looking for someone that's going to like fix my problems and tell me what to do.
You're not looking for like a Goodwill Hunting or a Dead Poet Society moment or anything like that.
No.
I realize I just pointed out 2 Robin Williams movies, but that wasn't intentional.
It's not your fault.
So you're looking for someone to basically validate your feelings or call you out on your bullshit.
Yeah,
Couldn't that just as easily be a friend?
they're biased. They might not. They might tell me what I want to hear.
It's
And I don't
true.
know that.
Like, most friends will always be on your side,
Yep.
which is why it's always good to introduce a third party, which is why counseling is so helpful for a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
That's fair.
That's why there's a whole industry for it. Because if friends were enough, we didn't fucking need counselors. It's
Right.
not a thing.
And like with my current insurance, it's free, so might as well take
That
advantage
makes
of
a
it.
Nice.
difference.
Oh yeah. If I was paying like $100 a session for this, probably not.
So the topic of the episode is mental health, and not to say that having relationship problems and being unhappy at work couldn't cause stress. Certainly it's going to cause stress, but do you think stress induced by things that are going on negatively in your life is an example of potentially poor mental health?
Not necessarily, because like when all these things weren't happening, like I pretty much dealt with it my whole life. I feel like, at least. I think the earliest memory of it's probably like middle school.
Memory of what?
I didn't recognize it as what it was at the time.
Right, but you recognize it now. Like, what specifically are you saying you remember from early? Like, is it a particular feeling?
Yeah. It's like my chest is like on fire and going to explode, basically. So I just kind of like shut myself down, I guess.
So
it's not frequent that happens anymore.
Is how you would describe it?
Anxiety? Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Do you think that anxiety is the same thing as sadness or depression?
It can be.
Like I feel like the feelings can be intertwined.
But it can be a contributing factor without a doubt.
Oh yeah,
because like it can trigger certain emotions, that kind of stuff.
For sure.
I guess what I'm trying to figure out is everyone feels sad from time to time.
Right.
Right. Everyone feels anxious or nervous about things from time to time. I think some people are more prone to feeling sad, and some people are more prone to feeling anxious than others, right? But I also feel like, I could be wrong, but based on my observations, the people who are most likely to feel very, very sad or very, very anxious are also more likely to have extreme feelings on the other end of the spectrum. So they're more likely to feel extra super excited about something or extra super happy about something. Yeah. And so the range of emotions is much greater for some people than others. And I think some people are, when they feel sad or get down, they really don't get that sad or that down ever, even about super traumatic things. And then those same people may be really happy but don't seem that happy, or very angry but don't seem that angry. You know what I mean? So
the last one would be me.
The last one would be you?
Yeah. Just don't really like outwardly show joy or anger or any of those. I just kind of keep it level all the time.
Right.
That's called being a sociopath, buddy.
What?
No.
That may be what you display, but is that the way you feel?
No.
That's what I'm saying. So
I see.
The feelings inside you, I could be wrong, but I feel like if you have the capability of getting like super, super, super down, you probably also get equally up, right? Like when something really good happens, when things are going super, super well, and you're feeling your most positive.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, I think it definitely depends on the person, and I can only speak from, my own experience, but as far as range of emotion goes, I guess, I don't know. I feel like my range of emotion is probably slightly wider than most people, but I don't know how other people feel, so it's really hard to judge.
That's true. So do me a favor, Robin, define what mental health means to you. Like, if someone said, hey, we're going to do an episode about mental health, what does that mean? What are we talking about here?
I think it's just a holistic view on your general well-being when it comes to how you think and feel about yourself. And I guess the external, it's not really about external influences or anything like that. I think it's more about how you handle them and how you receive things coming in from the outside.
Yeah, because everyone interprets things differently. Everyone handles things differently, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Like, I feel like I'm a generally pretty even-keeled person.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really feel equipped to talk about this kind of stuff because I don't really suffer from crippling anxiety, or I don't get, like, super depressed or anything like that. Like, I'm a generally pretty positive fella, and I've always kind of felt like, water off a duck's back kind of stuff. Like, nothing really bothers me. But I know plenty of people that are affected greatly by that sort of thing. And, I have great sympathy for them, but I can't feel empathy for it. Like, I don't experience it in any way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. Cause if you're not familiar with how that stuff feels, and I'm talking about this, because for a while I felt like I was like totally fine and kind of similar to Corey, where stuff didn't really bother me on a normal basis. But over time, I don't know if there's a tolerance for what is possible to deal with, and sometimes that kind of stuff just snaps, and then all of a sudden you have issues or whatever it might be. But
How long ago was it when I said the thing to you, Rob?
what thing?
You remember? It was when I said one day the depression will catch up to you.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what were we? It was like Christmas time or something,
Yeah.
and I was like setting up the Christmas tree, or we were decorating. Something was going on, right? I was maybe wrapping gifts.
Yeah.
And I said something, and your reaction was like, well, one day it's all just going to catch up to you. The depression's going to get you. And then I just kind of paused for a second and just really felt that resonate within me. I just looked off in the distance and was like, yes, it is here now.
Were you like that animated GIF that everyone sees where it's got the guy who's got like the swoopy hair with the beard, and he's like, yes.
I think I accidentally said
Yeah,
something
kinda.
darker.
Yes.
I said like, one day you'll recognize that feeling for what it is.
So, something like that.
Yeah.
It was very like almost threatening. And I was
Right.
like, oh shit.
I didn't mean for it to sound that sinister.
No, it's fine.
That's another thing that I never really got is the seasonal depression thing. Because like everyone's like, oh, the days are shorter, there's less sunlight. I'm just sad. It's dark all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether the day is 8 hours long or 15 hours long, I don't think that really has ever bothered me.
Yeah, I'm still
Same.
gonna go to fucking bed at 9 p.m. most nights. Like that's just who I am at this point in my life.
Maybe that's the secret. We just need to go to bed earlier.
Probably.
Yeah.
I do think that healthy sleep is generally considered pretty important to your overall health.
Yeah, without like sleep and hydration.
Right.
Like those are the two things that like if you're not doing it right, which hydration is one of those that I am not good about.
Same.
Like water sucks. It really, really sucks.
Oh, water sucks.
I'm glad you picked up on that.
It's like, that's a top 10 movie for me of all time, buddy.
But like I hate drinking water. It's flavorless. It doesn't bring me any joy whatsoever. I started doing the liquid IV things, try and get some more electrolytes in my system. But like that's only going to take me so far, right?
Let's go around the table. How much sleep do you guys get?
On an average, like per night,
Yeah.
probably 8 to 10 hours.
Okay. Rob?
Less than that. Probably closer to anywhere between 4 and 6.
Okay.
Sorry
Josh?
about that. He was taking a big swig from the Rumplemints bottle.
Naturally.
Yeah, 4 to 8. I do normally go to bed relatively early, but I have trouble staying asleep
He also has trouble falling asleep, according to Josh.
sometimes.
He will lay
depends.
there and stare at the ceiling. I'm one of those people that I can roll over and I'm just out.
Yeah.
As someone that slept in the same room as Josh, based on my experience, he does not have trouble falling asleep.
Based off my experience, neither does fucking Robert.
No.
Well, that's true.
The legend goes, though, that I fell asleep faster than even Robert.
I don't think that's possible.
Ask Robert.
I was like checking into my flight or something, and I just hear behind me, and I'm like, "What the fuck is
Well,
that?"
that's a normal volume at least.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It wasn't. That
It
bad.
wasn't.
Yeah, no, it didn't. It didn't rattle the walls.
It sounded like a dubstep drop.
Fuck yeah, dude. Like
I apologize. The Appleboys are not going to replace the speaker we just blew in your car.
Yeah, enjoy.
I thought that somebody was like, call 911 now.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Skrillex has sampled me sleeping in some of his songs.
You need to get some fucking royalty checks, buddy.
I do.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, you think I bought this house?
So, Jimmy, how much sleep do you get per night?
It's usually 8 hours. If I get any less than like 6, I'm in a very bad place the next day.
See, it's weird for me because, like I said, I normally get like 8 to 10 hours, right? But if I get like 4, I'm still in a pretty good spot.
Yeah.
But if I get between like 4 and 8, I'm fucked up. Like
Yeah,
when I wake up, I'm
that's
like,
also my
oh,
experience.
I don't know where I am.
Huh.
Because of the
it's
sleep cycles and the way they work.
Yeah.
something. I don't know, man.
After
But
the REM cycle, you fall into the deep sleep.
the
and if-
NREM.
If that doesn't get completed, then it messes up your circadian rhythm or something
Yeah,
like that.
like when I get like 6, that's a bad time.
Yeah.
Like I'm a caffeine fiend.
Would you
that
call
day.
it you got a rim job?
No.
Rim?
No.
You did not say REM job. You said rim job.
What's
I know.
the difference?
Well, one's where you get your butthole licked. The other one is not.
I
I'm glad Rob liked my joke.
get the eyeball licked instead.
The eyeball lick.
Yeah.
All right. So when you think about mental health and you think about talking about it as a subject matter for a podcast, like, does your brain go toward depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, things like that? Or do you think of it as a holistic protecting your mental health and improving your happiness and things like that? Or are all the connotations around talking about mental health related to being open about being depressed or having anxiety? Or
I think it's a combination of the two myself. Because, like, you can't have one without the other. Like, you can't really talk about it without trying to better yourself, right?
Yeah.
But, like, you can't
you could be like trying to find other people who feel the same way you do, so you could be miserable together.
So you could just be the big sad club, as Rob would call it.
Yep.
That's it.
I feel like a lot of my friend group from high school was like the depressed and anxious ones, but
Well,
they weren't the goth ones.
I'm the elder goth here, so
That's true.
You're a fucking poser, apparently.
Yeah, he's
No.
gone backwards.
He's superseded
Back in high
the
school?
big sad.
Yeah.
I'm king goth because
Too powerful.
I am unaffected by the angst.
Wouldn't that just mean, if you're king goth, wouldn't that mean like you're the saddest?
No, not necessarily. It
No?
means that I am able to help all that are sad,
I
But
think
they don't want help.
which is why I am considered the good mood dude in my place of work.
I think it goes full circle to a point. Like
I guess so.
you go so far down into the pits of despair and desolation that you just become a fucking absolute nihilist and just realize that nothing matters.
Man, nihilism is something else.
Yeah.
Like not caring about anything. That's next level shit right
It was
there.
like Rob at the end of Power Hour.
Man, you should subscribe to the Patreon so you can listen to two things. Forbidden Technique and Nihilist Rob.
So
Both of which are Robert related.
actually, this is a great example of how medication and mental health awareness can really help people. That was pre-medication Rob, and this is post-medication Rob.
I mean, we haven't done another Power Hour since then, so
You never know what's going to happen.
I mean, we'll see is all I can say.
You did fall down a hill.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that wasn't my.
That wasn't your
Full
fault.
speed.
I mean, well, it was your fault because you took off without.
Fuck you.
You
Let's-
didn't drop off the dehumidifier. You fuck.
Did you in turn
Anyway.
sell that dehumidifier to Will?
That'd be so funny.
No,
Is
it's
that
in
not
my
the
house.
same one?
No,
Okay.
different one.
Will told me that he bought a dehumidifier from you, and I was
Oh,
like,
I
"Oh
see.
man, is that the one?"
It was not.
That's a lot of damage.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Rob, you just mentioned medication. You are medicated because of your mental health?
Yeah, I would say that's, yeah, you could say that.
Like you've mentioned on the podcast before, Adderall for ADHD.
Yeah, the adhid.
Is ADHD considered a mental health issue?
It absolutely is.
Yeah. It affects your brain and how you
ADHD
mentally.
can cause hella anxiety
Yeah, without a doubt.
because you're just like very frantic and can't get your words and brain together. So
Well,
you're just
and then
anxious as fuck
likewise,
about
like
it.
some shit just comes out that you're just like, "What the fuck? Do you have Tourette's or some shit?"
Right.
Because like you're like, I don't know what kind of situation I'm in. And
That's part of it. But so my big issue was like, it was very directly related with like work and like, I guess what I had to do on a daily basis or stuff around the house, whatever. Any tasks that needed to be done, instead of just like doing them or even setting up a plan or a checklist to like go through and do all of them, I would think about how much stuff I have to do and not be able to actually start doing any of it.
And that's
So
where
this-
the hell anxiety comes into play.
Yeah, the stuff would just pile up over time, and it would just get to this mountain of shit that was completely unmanageable.
Yeah.
And it's still a work in progress. Like, it's not like fixed by any means, but it's a lot easier to get started and stay on task as long as I like actually try to do that.
Right.
So it's, like I said, it's a work in progress. It's not like a miracle thing that like you start taking Adderall and then all of a sudden you're fucking the what's his name from Limitless, Ryan Gosling. That's not right.
Brad Cooper.
Brad Cooper. Yeah.
You were that guy for like a week.
Yeah, that
Until
was
you adjusted.
incredible. Yeah, for the first
Yeah, I
week
remember-
is fucking fantastic.
I remember you being like, I'm getting so much fucking done right now.
Yeah, I got like a month of work done in a day.
Yeah, you made that entire math rock album.
Yeah.
Wait,
It was
what?
great.
Is that a thing?
No, I'm just kidding.
I was about to say, buddy, I need to fucking listen to that shit.
I learned Japanese. It was great.
That is when you started learning Japanese.
I learned what the duo and Duolingo means.
Yeah.
Yeah, writing and word.
All right, so let me ask a question though, and I really want you to think about this. Okay,
That's gonna
So-
be a fucking tough ask.
Josh is the fucking anchor of this episode. He's like, snap back to reality.
I'm trying to honor Jimmy's mom's request for this episode and keep it from going too far off the rails.
Oh, there goes gravity.
Thanks.
I'm not gonna do it. Not gonna do it.
Oh, there
I'm not
goes
gonna do it.
gravity. Won't give up. Rapid.
Stop. All right, Rob.
Hey,
You mentioned that you think the majority of your stress and anxiety that caused you to go see a doctor to get diagnosed with ADHD and get on the Adderall was stress from work.
right now, yes.
And the source of that stress was you know what you have to do, but you either can't make yourself get started, don't have the discipline to, like whatever the cause of you not being able to get started is what leads to not having the stuff done, which is what leads to the anxiety, correct? And let's say it's not about work, but anything else in your life. I need to clean the house, can't make myself get started. The house gets messier and messier and messier. Now it feels like an insurmountable task, and the anxiety comes in.
So the inability to get started is part of it for sure. So pre-medication, even if you were able to like really force yourself to get started, it's so easy to get off track, and then you got to start the whole process over again. So I think I know where you're going with this, but I agree. Once you get started, it's much easier to as long as you're doing something, it's easier to I guess get parts of it out of the way, and then you narrow stuff down, and eventually it's all gone. Right? I get it.
Well, that's not exactly where I was going with it. So my question was going to be more along the lines of, I don't disagree that if that's an issue that you can't really stop from happening, that you should address it, and probably professionally, right? So you're going to pay someone to do something to help you, right? And whether that's paying someone through your insurance to like a therapist or paying someone else. My question would be, if you were to hire a professional of some sort who helped you shape your environment to be more conducive to doing the things you want to do and helped you figure out mind exercises to make you stay focused, like something that you can think about doing. And that stuff exists. I've never tried any of it, so I can't speak to its validity. But there are systems out there that you can learn to help make yourself learn new habits, to help make yourself do other things. And I think that once you have a habit that's like an unconscious habit, it's harder to not do it than it is to do it, right? So like literally this point, now that we're 326 days in, the first thing I think about when I wake up in the morning, every morning, is what I'm going to tweet to Miller Lite. Like every morning.
I
That's
love
my
that.
first thought.
Shout out Miller Lite.
I love that example. It's so good.
That is good.
That is great.
But like it wasn't that way when I started, but now
Right.
it's such an unconscious part of my brain that's part of my wake up routine, right? I wake up, I think about what I'm going to tweet to Miller Lite.
I wake up, I think about Miller Lite.
Automatically.
So my question is, it feels like if we're going and getting medicated, we are becoming dependent on the medication, and it's not curing anything. It's masking a symptom, right? Like if you take Adderall long enough, you won't eventually get over your inability to focus or your anxiety or whatever the case may be. So if you were able to do something that solves that problem on a consistent basis, it seems like you're attacking the issue at the root rather than putting a Band-Aid over a symptom. Do you think that's possible? I'm asking, I'm not trying to discredit therapy. I'm not trying to discredit medication, and I'm not trying to say that people who are diagnosed with ADHD shouldn't have Adderall. But I am wondering if it's become really easy for a doctor when they see certain things to not dive in, not dig in, and just say, yep, that's ADD, time for some Adderall, right? And kids get that when they're very young. And
Yeah, that and Ritalin.
And
Is Ritalin still a thing? I never hear about that one.
I don't know.
They,
I had a
they
friend
finally
that
got
had
rid of Ritalin.
Did they?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a good example of this.
okay.
So when I moved to this area, I didn't have a primary care doctor, and I was like, whatever, I guess I'll find one, get a checkup, because it's been like 3 years, because I lived in Oregon and didn't find anyone who was out there. So I came back, found a primary care doctor, just talking to him about like some mental problems I was having, general anxiety, stuff like that. And he was like, oh, we can just give you some Lexapro. And I'm like, oh, okay, fix my problems. Start taking this shit. First like week or so, I just feel like this crazy, like it's almost like a distant dizziness feeling. Like it's, if you guys have ever experienced vertigo, it's almost like a constant vertigo that I was experiencing. I didn't feel the anxiety as strongly, but it was still there. And if I forgot to take it for like a day or two, it would all just hit me all at once. So yeah, in some situations, it can certainly be a Band-Aid for sure. I think Adderall certainly can be too, because after a while, drugs like Adderall start to rewire your brain so you don't feel things the same way, think the same way, and you get very, very dependent on it.
Isn't it like pretty similar to like ecstasy and what it does to your brain?
It has
Kind of, sort of.
Yeah, like the closest like party drug to it, which Adderall is a party drug.
Yeah, without a doubt. That's why I'm making the comparison.
Yeah. Like ecstasy is a similar feeling.
Because like you become like hyper focused on things. Like it doesn't
Right.
necessarily give you like the tracers and all that kind of stuff necessarily, but
Right.
a kind of a equal effect ish.
Yeah, it's like a light version of meth, and that's not an exaggeration.
Well, all right then. I've watched Requiem for a Dream a couple times.
Yeah.
I know what that does.
Yeah. Since this was targeted at Rob, let's hear what you got, Rob. And we're not coming at you.
Or on you.
Please don't. Yeah. So a couple things. One, methamphetamine versus the amphetamine that is Adderall is fundamentally different.
Have you done methamphetamine?
No,
Okay.
but from a chemical compound perspective,
I
it is-
just wanted to clarify.
no.
Good.
Yeah,
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe next time.
No, never.
Yeah.
Can you smoke Adderall?
Probably.
We can try after
We're
this.
not going to explore. We're not going to explore this.
Just lace it up, just a little sprinkle.
after they leave.
So
No.
what?
Don't do
Jesus
that.
Christ, man.
By the way, this is satire.
So what Josh described is not, it's kind of what you should be doing with or without Adderall. Like that is the treatment for what I'm describing.
Right.
And people with ADHD actually, like, systems is what they call, that's the term that's thrown around.
Systems?
Creating a system is what keeps you really like on track.
Oh, okay.
And people can have a system for basically anything, whether it be like a daily routine or like something that they do with work or
Like a mantra, kind of, sort of,
kind of, yeah.
or a ritual.
It's something that like keeps you focused on what's going on and like not out and about. And like systems is really like what is the true thing that like helps you through getting over ADHD or getting through ADHD or whatever you want to call it. Adderall is basically, it's not a crutch by any means. It is a way that you can help yourself either get started or stay on track.
That's fair.
And some people maybe rely on it too much. Speaking from personal experience, I don't think that I rely on it by any means. And there have been days where I haven't taken it. And it definitely feels different for sure, but it's not completely unmanageable. And it's because of the work that I've put in to try to fix it with or without pills.
Yeah.
Right. The thing that I have noticed, if I don't take it for a day or two, if I get past like 3 or 4 days, then it's fine. But if you don't take it for a day or two and you've been taking it for a long time, it is like withdrawal symptoms are very real.
Oh yeah.
So
Big depression.
yeah, but I mean, that's normal. Like that's
is.
literally what withdrawal is. And like, I'm not gonna, like, I know how chemically this works. It's an addictive drug.
Yeah.
Right. Where you develop a physiological addiction to it. And that kind of stuff, is tough to get over for some people. For me, it's like, a day or two sucks, but after that, I can quit if I wanted to.
Yeah.
So
You got your own experience with withdrawal.
oh yeah.
So I have, I guess, a question that is going to potentially lead to a follow-up question. But do you feel like the environment that you grow up in can affect these things? So as an example, if you grew up with with parents who were very in tune to teaching you how to behave in the grocery store, which led to you then learning to behave in the classroom, which led to you focusing more on your work, which led to better study habits, which led to whatever, versus like people who don't pay any attention to you, let you do your own thing, and you learn differently, right? And then you start to develop these things, and then they snowball into other things. How much of it do you think is the environment?
Most of it.
Yeah.
Certainly. And like that goes all the way back to Freud, right?
Like my mantra is like everyone's a product of their environment. I remind myself that like every day.
Yeah.
Especially when
without question.
like a customer is mean to me at work, or like having issues with relationships with my girlfriend, whatever it is, like generally those people aren't doing things on purpose. They're just doing what they were taught.
Sure.
So then the follow-up question to that is, are mental health issues learned?
Yes and no.
So I'm speaking specifically about ADHD, and the reason that I know that what I'm going to say is at least partially factual is because I've done a lot of research on this, and there are scientific studies that say this.
Okay.
So with ADHD specifically, it is pretty much proven at this point that most people with ADHD develop in, like, they can develop at any point in your life, but generally speaking, it happens with gifted children that aren't challenged enough. So it's not exactly about like whether or not you're like taught to behave a certain way or anything like that. It's literally like people that are too smart for their own good going into what is essentially a blanket general education system that isn't built for people like that, and there's no real outlet for them. So if you're never challenged, you eventually just develop this, I guess, habit or whatever you want to call it, where you don't care about what's going on and you can't focus on it, and that just snowballs into what becomes ADHD.
So that very much aligns with kind of my thought process on the whole deal, which is that it's not necessarily your fault if you have mental health issues, but a lot of the stuff that we deal with is preventable if you had the right structure. If educators were educated more on how to connect on an individual basis, which is a very, very difficult ask for an entire industry that's wildly undercompensated and underappreciated. So I'm not saying teachers suck because they don't know how to individually reach each child, but I do think that many of these issues are a product of the environment and a product of a culture that we've created a little bit. Again, going back to it's very easy to see something where there's a hard way to fix it and there's a easy way to fix it. And when I say fix it, I mean address it, right? I don't mean make it go away.
It's like a Band-Aid, basically.
Right. And so you can work the muscles and do the things to try to shape the environment in a way that supports that child's development and builds healthy, lifelong habits of discipline and focus and things like that, which I think are learned. Like you can work on your discipline muscle. You can work on your focus muscle by doing things to make that better. Or I don't know how to fix this, and I know you are frustrated with it, and I want to fix it as quickly as possible. So let me give you these pills that just kind of put a haze over the issue, right? And when I say, again, haze over the issue, maybe that's the wrong way to say it, because I hear what you're saying about it makes it easier to get started, right? But maybe by making it easier to get started, you lose that muscle that gets the bar off of the bench before you do the bench press, right? It's a different strength. Like that's why so many people who power lift, they can bench press the like super heavy weight, but they got to have all the help getting it off of the rack and then back on the rack. And so that getting started muscle, if you're not developing that because you're using a drug to help you get started, long term, maybe that's That's not the right thing. And I'm not an expert on the subject. These are just shower thoughts with Josh.
Going to your learned habits or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like anxiety is kind of one of those. It's a product of the environment in some ways. Like certainly it's probably a chemical imbalance or whatever it is. I don't know. I'm no neurologist by any stretch. And as previously stated, I don't suffer from any of this stuff. It's not a thing for me. But my fiance frequently suffers from specifically anxiety. She is worried about everything always. So is her mother. And I feel like that is kind of a learned habit in that way.
Definitely.
She automatically goes to worst case scenario in every sense of the word.
Yeah.
So like she had COVID. It was like a month ago or a couple weeks. It was a while ago. And she came to me and she was like, I smell gas in the house. And like immediately she goes, we have a gas leak. And I'm like, I don't smell anything. Like I don't think that's the case. I think you just have COVID.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, we definitely have a gas leak. It is so strong. I'm like about to vomit. It's so strong. We need to call the gas company. And if we do this, the gas company comes out. If they find a leak, they cut off the gas to the house. And the gas does not get turned back on until we get somebody out here to fix it.
Right.
And she and I got into like kind of an argument about it. But like because her brain works the way it does, she was just like, no, we absolutely have this problem. We need to go to the absolute extreme right away. And the whole time I was like, no, you have fucking COVID. It affects your sense of smell.
Right.
That's probably what the problem is. Like I am always a simplest solution is probably the right answer.
For sure.
And I am a straight line fella. Like I don't do the whole curveball kind of thing. Very rarely anyway. I won't say I'm immune to it necessarily, but I don't automatically go to the worst, like one or the other. Like I don't go to best case. I don't go to worst case. I go to the most simple solution. What's the most likely scenario is.
Right.
And she was adamant. Like she kept like we got into like a fight about this. So eventually I was just like, then call the fucking gas company. Like get them out here, have them check for a leak and have them shut off our gas.
Yeah.
And she was like, you just never believe me. You always think it's just crazy. I'm like, no, that's not true. You have COVID. It affects your sense of smell.
Right.
Remember when I hated lasagna and I love lasagna? I'm like Garfield. And I was like, I can't eat this right now. It's
So when
disgusting.
Garfield gets COVID, do you think he doesn't want lasagna anymore?
Probably, yeah.
That was me. I can tell you right now, when I had COVID back in 2020, when I was raw dogging COVID without vaccines and stuff, like she made
Raw dogging COVID.
it's
And without the heat working in your house in November.
yeah,
Oh,
that
yeah, I
was
forgot about
awful. But we got into like a legitimate argument about this to where I was like screaming at her, like, just call the fucking gas company then. Like, I'm not going to do it because you're crazy. And I realized that maybe calling her crazy wasn't the right thing to do at that moment.
For sure.
Generally speaking, that's not.
It's not what
I
you
know
want.
it's not a card you play normally, right? I was like, but this is certainly a factor of your sickness right now. This is not a legitimate concern.
Right.
Like, okay, maybe if you smell it for a few days, maybe then we'll worry. But I smell nothing right now. And then the next day, she looks at me and is like, I don't smell the gas anymore. I'm like, weird, right? Like, maybe we shouldn't just automatically jump to conclusions.
Sure.
True.
But she's also one of those people that doesn't want to take medications all the time because she doesn't want to become dependent on them.
Right.
Like she has a prescription. She has a prescription for Xanax, but she doesn't take it all the time because she doesn't want to become dependent on it.
I'd like to have a subscription to Xanax, please.
Why was I about to say the same thing?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Sometimes I just want to sleep for a long time, you know?
So you think your fiance learned to be anxious from her mom?
I think it was certainly a contributing factor. I'm not saying it was the only factor, but it's certainly like genetics come into it without a doubt. Like if one of your parents suffers from a certain condition, because her mom does a lot of the same shit. Like she automatically jumps to like the worst case scenario in every scenario. Like there was one night we were getting ready for bed and my fiance looks at me, my now fiance, then girlfriend looks at me and is like in tears. Like she can't go to sleep. I'm like, what's wrong? And she goes, I'm just thinking about all the senior guinea pigs out there that don't have anyone to adopt them.
Oh, boy.
Like, what? No, like I'm sure they'll find a home. Like, let's just go to bed, dear.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to make light of the subject. Like, it's something she suffers with. And I try to feel, I mentioned earlier, I can't really feel empathy for it. So like, it's just sympathy, which is awful.
Yeah.
But like, I really don't understand how somebody can just automatically go to these places and feel in such a way that like they can't deal with it. Right.
Yeah. And if you are not familiar with how that feels or anything like that, it's very, very hard to imagine it.
Yeah. And like, I love her to death. I do. And I want to help her out of these situations. But like, there's some scenarios where I'm just like, I'm going to kiss you and let you deal with, I'm going to go to the other room for a little bit. I don't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah. Sometimes if my girlfriend gets in that stage, just like panic for no reason,
Sure.
I will literally like remove her from the house, put her in the car, and just take us to the park.
All right.
That seems to work pretty well.
I mean, try that at some point.
It's rare that I go to that length, but sometimes it just works.
There was one time that we went, this was when I was still living in Florida, and I forgot something like in my car or something like that. She's sitting at our dining room table, which is like this big square table, and she's sitting at the furthest seat away from the front door. And I go to walk outside, and I just like go outside, get something from my car, come back inside. She was totally fine when I walked outside, like when I was walking outside. I come back inside, and she is just melting down, like just crying at the table. I'm thinking like her best friend's been in a car accident and is dead or something.
Right.
I'm like, oh my God, what is wrong? And she's just like, there is this festival in China where they kill dogs and eat them. I'm like, okay.
What was that, Chippy?
Nothing.
All right.
I didn't know how to react to that. I was like,
How do you react to that?
really?
All right.
And I find myself in that situation more than I care to admit.
So round the table, though, do you consider the things we're talking about, anxiety, depression, things like that, that's mental health issues, right?
Sure.
Would you also consider things like psychopathy and being sociopath and schizophrenia, things like that? Are those mental health issues?
Absolutely.
Without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So are they defined differently?
I mean, maybe slightly.
I feel like mental health in general is like a spectrum. It's really hard to like
Kinda.
narrow it down to like.
So I feel like there's mental health and there's
Hold
mental
on. You guys are
illness.
fucking laughing.
No.
Hold on.
I was only laughing at Rob's face. I was actually thinking the exact same thing.
Okay. Yeah. So a lot of mental health issues, and I've kind of learned this from my girlfriend, are linked to like the spectrum of autism. It truly is. I have my girlfriend's done like a bunch of tests with actual doctors, psychologists, that kind of thing, to figure out if she's on the spectrum, and she is. And one doctor will say, yeah, you have ADHD. One doctor will say, you're kind of on the spectrum. Another doctor will say, yeah, crippling anxiety and depression. But they're all like the same thing for her.
And it's not an exact science is the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Like no one really knows, right?
Yeah, because like we still don't
Right.
know how the brain
But-
works at all.
And you just gotta throw darts at the board and see what sticks, right?
Right.
So a lot of it's guesswork,
But
which is what's wild about therapy.
But there's a line of demarcation for the others, right? There's a line of demarcation. You are either a sociopath or you're not. You're either a psychopath or you're not. You're either schizophrenic or you're not. You either have Tourette's syndrome or you don't.
Yeah.
Right?
The-
Those are
I don't
yes
think
and no.
that's a hard line.
So
I think you can show like sociopathic tendencies, but not be like a true sociopath necessarily.
I think with sociopathy specifically, like you either kind of are or you're not. But with schizophrenia, for example, you can absolutely, like, it can get worse over time. Like you can be schizophrenic, but you can have severe schizophrenia versus
yeah.
mild symptoms or whatever.
Like spats.
Oh, spats of schizophrenia?
Yeah, not your spats. Like you can have spats of schizophrenia. Like
I guess.
like you can have like a schizophrenic episode,
Yeah.
and then you're fine.
Yeah. I mean, you
Yeah.
have schizophrenia at that point, but you don't always think people are coming to your house to kill you
Sure.
at all times of the day.
And that's not exactly what schizophrenia is, but sure, okay.
That's one of the most common symptoms of schizophrenia.
Sure, you always feel like you're paranoid and people are out to get you. I get that. one of my brother's best friends has drug-induced schizophrenia, so I am somewhat familiar.
Yep.
Yep.
I guess ultimately what I'm getting at is I believe mental health problems are very real, and I believe that we should feel comfortable talking about it. Everyone should have the right to talk about it. No one should be made to feel less than for talking about it.
Sure.
But I also think that my opinion is we are too quick to diagnose something as a mental health issue rather than just being a human and having emotions that range from sad to happy to angry to whatever, fearful, and then prescribe drugs without trying other things first. I'm not saying everyone that's on drugs shouldn't be on drugs. I'm not saying every doctor misdiagnoses these things, but I just feel like it's too easy to diagnose such an ambiguous thing that has such a wide spectrum that we have so very little understanding of and just depend on a chemical thing to make it better.
Isn't it wild that America is like the only country in the world that can advertise prescription drugs?
Is that a thing?
Yeah. No other country in the world does that.
I did not know that.
It's because any other civilized country in the world has universal health care.
I mean,
They don't need to advertise drugs because there's not as much profit in drug manufacturing.
I mean, there's that, but like, it's still like, that's a thing here. And it's
The core of capitalism, brother.
Oh, yeah.
America.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Josh, it kind of depends on perspective with what you're talking about, right? I think that with certain disorders, there certainly can be either overdiagnosis or potentially overprescribing. I think that that's a very real possibility, especially when it comes to kind of the less. So I mean, there's a big difference between something that generates in a person over time that is almost based on habit and how people are brought up rather than a chemical imbalance in their brain. So ADHD is a really weird thing. And I'm talking about that a lot because it's something that I have experience with. So I can put this into terms with that.
That you suffer with on a daily basis.
Yeah. But ADHD is almost underdiagnosed, I would argue, because I think a lot of people have something going on with that. Like, I've felt like this, like with these issues since I was like 14, right? And I told my mom about it when I was growing up, and she was like, that's bullshit. That doesn't exist. Get the fuck over it and stop being lazy.
And that kind of goes back to Josh's statement with upbringing and why that's so taboo to talk about mental health, that kind of stuff. But I also remember when I was in like elementary school, middle school, that sort of thing, buddy, if you couldn't pay attention in class, fucking ADHD, boom, Ritalin. Like I had so many friends that were on Ritalin or Adderall or whatever else was available. Those are the two big ones. I guess Ritalin's not available anymore. We talked about that pre-episode, but Adderall is obviously still available. And
they've got all kinds of shit nowadays too. They've got like Vyvanse and
I struggled
other shit
pretty significantly in school, elementary and middle school, and was never offered such things.
Did you go to a doctor to have them be like, boom, Adderall?
So doctor was never introduced for those things.
I know the solution to this. So when Corey was in school, like that had more or less just come out.
Yeah, that was just a thing.
And
it was very much the flavor of the month. Like
there's no research on it.
Oh,
and they were just chucking it out there.
Yeah, you like to make jokes in class? Ritalin.
Yeah, it was like, oh, you got your wisdom teeth out? Here's some Oxy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Buddy, I got so I struggled with ingrown toenails for a little while.
Yeah, Oxy.
I'm on big toes. No, it wasn't Oxy, no. But they were like, hey, here's Lortabs.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I did that for a while. All my toes hurt.
Very, very cool.
I mean, it was something, that's for sure.
So when you were in school, like I think it was definitely overprescribed because it was very new and everyone was like, this is a miracle drug that just fixes bad behaving kids.
You remember the South Park episode?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. But
that was my childhood.
Yeah. Whenever I was in high school, especially, like no one that I knew of was on anything like that. And the reason why is because it was almost taboo to prescribe it at that point.
Yeah.
Because it was so overprescribed, so they overcorrected. Then it was like basically never prescribed, and it was It's a whole weird thing. We're still
And-
working on it.
And also, while you were of that age, like it was kind of almost like a designer drug, kind of sorta in colleges.
Yeah.
Where like if people were struggling with midterms or whatever, like they would buy Adderall off of people.
That's still definitely a
So
thing.
it's most certainly is because
yeah.
it absolutely helps. Like it makes you hyper focused on shit, and it's people have kind of gone away from prescribing it as much. I think because of that.
Right.
So I think it's kind of a mix of the two, kind of sorta.
I agree. I mean, with my doctor in particular, like if you go in with the intent of getting an Adderall prescription, you're getting an Adderall prescription.
Yeah.
Like to the point where she was like, "What do you want to treat? Seems like you have, mild to moderate anxiety and you probably have ADHD. What are you thinking about?" And I was like,
Weed.
"ADHD, please." And
Where's my medical card?
Yeah, let me get that weed.
yeah, right. But I was pretty sure that's what it was, and it seems to be the thing that has helped me the most. Now, I didn't go on any anti-anxiety meds, so there's a potential that could have also helped. I don't know. I don't think it would have nearly as much.
Yeah.
Did they make a compound drug that's like Adderall and Xanax mixed together? Is that a thing?
You can definitely
Yes.
buy that on the street.
Xanadol.
All right.
Yeah, uppers and downers don't go too well together, Corey.
Just taking prescription speedballs all day long.
Jesus Christ.
They do have like one of the things that I was offered whenever we were talking about this originally was this drug that was basically mild anxiety reduction with ADHD treatment.
Yeah.
And it was basically Adderall plus Lexapro, more or less.
Wow.
And I was like, I mean, that sounds like the best of both worlds. How much does that cost? Because I was looking at prescription prices, and that was like $300 a month compared to Adderall, which is $20 a month.
That's the forbidden combining the milks.
So I went with a Netflix
That's basically
subscription. Oh yeah,
but with prescription meds.
Oh, yeah.
man, you do get in a hole with that kind of stuff. Like it is very, very possible to just
Fall right in.
Yep.
So I think this is my ultimate thesis based on what we've talked about so far. I think that a lot of the mental health issues that we have in the country are created by a lot of different things. They're created by the environments the kids grow up in. They're created by a potential, in my opinion, to jump straight to medication versus trying something else to help with whatever it is they're struggling with. And then we've gotten to this point now where we're not just giving permission to talk about mental health issues, but almost putting it up on a pedestal and celebrating it when people do, which I know that's how you change the perception on something. But I think what it creates is when anything gets enough traction, you get these extreme groups. And I think in almost any category, someone who's an extremist is bad, whether they're a Christian, but they're an extremist Christian who's trying to convert everyone they see into believing what they believe. And it could be something political, whether you're right-leaning or left-leaning. People who are on the extreme of the right side or the extreme of the left side have no tolerance for understanding other people's perspectives and points of view and things like that. And I think that we've gotten to that point with the mental health discussion where if someone dares to say it's because that boy needed a spanking, right? Like he needed to understand there are consequences to actions and that he needs discipline or whatever, like saying that makes you the enemy and you get crucified and canceled and whatever. And so now that this discussion of mental health is becoming so celebrated, I think that you're seeing instances of people abusing that and using that to their benefit, whether that be through virtue signaling or taking advantage of work type situations. I'm going to take mental health days and, the companies have to walk on eggshells around whether it's an excused absence or not because, you got to be fair, but it's really easy to manipulate that kind of thing. I can imagine being in school and telling the teacher, just having a mental breakdown and, playing the sympathy to try to get that. And so this sounds a lot like the equivalent of victim blaming, where I'm just disregarding people's mental health issues. That's not at all what I'm doing. I just think that like in all things, there should be balance. There should be some common sense non-drug related approaches to solving a lot of the root causes of these problems, in my opinion. And that's all I got to say about that.
I think we need massive, mental health reform in the U.S. Take the policing system, for example. If you call 911 and you're like, hey, there's this guy in the street running around, seems to be really fucked up on some drugs, but he's not actually, hurting anyone or doing anything. He's just kind of, tweaking in the street. You're going to have two guys with guns strapped to them talking to this guy. It's probably just on drugs. No intention to hurt anyone, but the situation immediately escalates as soon as you bring two guys with a gun to this guy. Instead, you could have a healthcare worker go up and talk to him. Be like, hey, you need some help? What's going on?
Yeah, but that's like a double-edged sword, right?
I don't think so.
It kind of is. Because, then you run into, the situation in Miami, a decade ago, when bath salts were the thing, where a fella is, fully eating a man's face.
That's different. If I call the police and I'm like, hey, there's this guy eating a guy's face, and hey, there's this guy tweaking in the street, it's a little different.
I think that...
Yeah, but, it could be, it could be a situation where, the guy tweaking in the street just all of a sudden, flips the script, right? And is not just, doing circles and listening to Billy Strings, and is all of a sudden kind of violent. So, I'm just saying it could...
I feel like that's a very...
I get what you're saying, right? I do.
Yeah. I feel like it's a very uncommon scenario, though.
Sure. But frequently, people that are specifically tweaking, they can just all of a sudden become violent, right?
I feel
even in mental health hospitals,
it's incredibly more likely for that to happen if there's a guy with a baton and a gun with a police badge on.
I think that if they approach the situation aggressively, then yes. But I feel like maybe just sending a healthcare worker, somebody that's not prepared to deal with the violence immediately, may not be the best case scenario either. I feel like better training for those that are armed to deal with said situations.
I feel like better
might be the
training
best
is
way.
definitely a thing too.
The healthcare worker should partner with those with guns.
Yeah. Partnership for sure.
That's where it's at, in my opinion. Not necessarily one extreme or the other.
Right.
Because I agree, the police force probably, it really comes down to training.
Okay, how about this? Maybe there's a 911 for the situation where it's I don't know how this could go. And then there's another line that's just mental health services.
But how do you know?
So
I feel like there could be just education to the public about this.
Which goes back to circumstance, right?
Yeah. But
upbringing and things like that.
Sure.
Which circles all the way back to what Josh said.
It's true. It's true.
Robert, I feel like you had something to say.
Couple things. I think the guy tweaking in the street is probably not a great example. I think it can be an example of a case where you would probably get a healthcare worker involved because they're going to be more qualified to deal with someone like that than a policeman. But say a guy is talking about killing himself. Yeah. Which to a point we have kind of almost, we've had a mutual friend that has had that kind of stuff going on before. And our option was, this guy's a danger to himself. We can go over and help him. Or this guy's a danger to himself. We're going to call the cops. Those are the two options.
I had that option.
More or less. Because an EMT is not equipped to deal with that.
Right.
A firefighter, not really equipped to deal with it. Although firefighters, they are typically the first responders to most medical calls.
Yeah, I called the suicide hotline and I was like, hey, never dealt with this situation before. Just looking for some advice. My friend, I was told by his now ex-girlfriend that he's holding a bottle of pills and he's wants to kill himself. And they're like, oh yeah, you should immediately call the police. And I didn't do that because I know this person and I know myself and I know Rob, who was going to be able to help me. And that would have far escalated the situation and made it way worse than it was.
I was pretty confident that if we did call the cops, that there was a significantly higher chance that he would have ended up dead rather than us trying to.
Right. And I feel like the trauma associated with being in basically a suicide tank in a police station is way worse.
Sure. But oftentimes, the reason that that's the go-to scenario for a lot of people is because they're the only emergency service that's equipped with the equipment to like restrain somebody from doing something, right?
Right.
Like handcuffs, zip ties,
I don't feel like you
whatever.
have to restrain someone though.
Sure, you don't have to,
But you might need to.
but you might need to.
Sure.
I think that we're arguing the same point.
We
Yeah.
kind of are.
Right.
Like you're like you know, like the gun thing, for instance.
Yeah.
Like, yes, police officers have weapons.
Yeah.
And too often do they jump to the conclusion that they need to use them.
Sure.
But they're there because in case it escalates to that point, they can. But it's because of the lack of training
Right.
in a lot of scenarios that they feel like they need to. Like that's the snap, right?
Right.
Like that's where they're like, oh no, I need to do this.
Yeah.
They don't think about another scenario. So really it comes down to, I feel like, better training for the enforcement.
Absolutely.
And that would solve a lot of the issues that we have as it pertains to that particular scenario that you're discussing.
Right.
I honestly think it's most scenarios that involve the police, whether you look at, I mean, there's,
All the way down to like a normal traffic stop even.
yeah. I mean,
Like there's too much twitchiness. Like, I mean, being a cop is what, it's like a 6-month course?
something like that. You don't have to be a college graduate.
I have no idea. It's
Yeah.
not a 4-year course, that's for sure.
No.
Yeah.
And I don't know that it needs to be a 4-year course necessarily, but like maybe like an associate's degree, like a 2-year course.
Ongoing training, I think, is going to be the biggest thing. Like, I genuinely don't think that you need to have an associate's degree. I don't think you have to have a degree to be a cop, but there should be more rigorous training involved that expands over time.
Especially like regarding certain situational things,
Oh, yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
you don't want them to automatically go weapon.
Yeah.
And like, that's kind of what they're trying to do at this point. And
Yeah. And that's, I don't want to say it's the problem, but it's kind of the problem. Right?
I think it's the problem for sure. I think that it escalates every part of the situation. And I know that we have gone from mental health to police reform at this point. But
yeah. But I mean, to Jimmy's point with the tweaker in the street thing, it kind of goes hand in hand.
And for a lot of communities,
Because-
like police violence and mental health are intertwined.
They're almost
significantly.
synonymous, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a problem. It really kind of is.
Right.
And to Jimmy's point, like the tweaker in the street shouldn't require a guy with a gun to come out and be like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Blah blah blah. Bang.
Right.
sir, put your hands up. Well, you can't do that because you're having a fucking breakdown.
It's like
Yeah,
water
because you're
hands.
fucking tweaking.
Right. Stop resisting, sir.
You know, you got Cornholio walking around over there, and
Right.
I think it's a lot deeper than police reform or mental health reform. It's,
certainly
it's
it
society
really is.
reform.
and,
yeah.
And to Josh's point, like we don't always need to jump to medication for everything. Way too frequently, like big pharma is certainly a problem in this country.
Yep.
And to my point, like you can fucking advertise prescription medications. Like there have been a lot of times where I'm like, maybe I do need Skyrizi. Like I get some spots on my skin every once in a while. Maybe I
Yeah.
do need to go fucking see a doctor about that shit.
Yeah.
And it genuinely is a problem. And we're the only country that allows that shit.
Yep.
Like I didn't even know I had a problem. But hey, I've kind of experienced that. Maybe I do need that pill.
I think we value the wrong things as a society. Like the people who are rewarded the most financially are entertainers and things like that. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't get what they deserve from the market, but as a society, we don't pay teachers enough and we don't incentivize them in the right ways to make differences in people's lives. We incentivize them to manipulate test scores and try to go for a number on a standardized test rather than trying to meet people where they are.
Right.
When you manage a result instead of an outcome, or like a more philosophical outcome, like a behavior or whatever.
When
If you don't know the why.
Yeah, when you're catering to
You fucking self-help junkie.
no, he's right though. I mean, when you're catering to a specific like benchmark that you're trying to hit, rather than helping people with the journey itself and helping people like at a tailored individual plan level, like honestly, this goes back to George Bush. You can blame George Bush for this. No Child Left Behind Act.
W.
All right.
George
So,
W. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm all for that.
yes, you're right. Education reform, police reform, but it's because society needs to value the things that are the most important in a different way. We need to value teachers and inventors and scientists and whatever else, and not overpay for all these things that are much less useful. So
I didn't know you were going to go on some hippie fucking rant there, buddy.
no, listen.
I really like where this is going because I have so much to say about this.
Well, we're running out of time on this mental health episode.
We can't have a rampant liberalism episode
No.
too. No,
No, we can't.
We thought we weren't going to be able to make a whole episode out of this. How about that?
I was like taxation with military spending. Let's talk about it right now.
Yeah, I was rearing up.
Nope. That's
Rob
not where
said
I'm
George
going.
Bush, and you said that.
Yeah,
and
we
I
both
was
got
like, woo!
Fucking invigorated over here.
Listen, bring
9/11 was an inside job.
bring it back to the right.
Jet fuel
Come
can't
on back.
melt steel beams.
Come on back to the middle. Let's head on back. Let's head on back to the middle. No, but if I am a doctor and there's some threat to turn us into a universal healthcare situation where I can't make as much money hawking these prescriptions or whatever the case may be, but I find out if I make funny videos while my patient's asleep on the table and post them on TikTok, I will make more money.
Oh, geez.
Like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? As I try to get our podcast off the ground to make so that we can all quit our jobs.
Well, everyone's got to hustle.
You should follow us on TikTok at Appleboys Pod.
Yeah, we're really funny.
We're not.
We're not
good at TikTok.
We're not the
We need
TikTok
more Rob
people.
Samurai videos. That's the problem.
I'll see what I can do.
I'll buy you
Okay.
more swords, buddy. Don't you worry.
Thank you.
I like how you said that video was you testing out my sword, but that was certainly the sword that I bought you because the sword you bought me had no edge whatsoever.
Okay. I couldn't remember if it was yours or mine. I thought it was yours for some reason because I thought it was before you had given me
Nah, man.
mine.
This was shortly after you got your offer accepted on the house, and I was like, I'm gonna get you a sword too.
Yeah.
All right.
That was like day one.
So, Jimmy's mom, we hope that this is an acceptable.
Thanks for listening, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this mental health expose that we have put together for you at the request of one of our patrons. Happy tonight.
If you also would like to make requests and be really cool and have us think about you before we go to sleep at night, you can subscribe to us on Patreon or at appleboys.us.
If this episode made your mental health issues worse, please don't sue us. My name's Jimmy. Happy tonight.
Happy tonight.
We can't afford a lawyer. Please don't sue us. That's not a request. That's a threat. Happy tonight.
What? That's a threat?
You heard me. That's a legal threat. I will fucking kill you if you try to sue us.
The Texas law.
You can't say that. Okay, we need to cut that actually for legal purposes. Happy tonight.
Satire. Happy tonight.
Happy tonight.
Happy tonight.
You've been listening to the Appleboys podcast. I know. We're badass. We hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review. Thank you for listening, especially premium subscribers. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on Discord at discord.gg/Appleboys, on the website at appleboys.us, and Twitter and Facebook at Appleboys Pod. Happy tonight.